Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the mat. Today's flow comes off of two requests that I got from different individuals who watch these videos. One of those requests is that we have a flow that's a little more intense, upbeat, energetic. And then the other request actually seconded that, but then also requested a really specific transition, which is from a standing form, wide-legged forward fold, and down into a plow pose. And so I'm going to be honoring both of those requests in this video, keeping in mind that not everyone may want to do that transition. It can seem a little daunting. So I'm going to show different steps that you can take, letting you know right now, though, that you definitely do not need to think about doing the most completed version of the form. This space is lovely for so many reasons, but especially because we can always meet ourselves wherever we're at. And I think that's kind of one of the coolest parts of a yoga practice. There's not an expectation or an outcome, but rather an invitation to show up and figure out where we are and what we can best do to honor that. On that note, I'll be very upfront with you. I'm feeling a little low energy today, and like low energy is what I need. And so, one thing that I'm going to do to support my nervous system, even while doing a little bit of a high energy flow, is I'm going to put on ankle weights. And a lot of times, ankle weights seem like they would be adding spice, and they absolutely can. Don't get me wrong, they definitely make your legs heavier. However, one lovely benefit of them is that they also tend to create a sense of grounding. And so I'm strapping these on for myself this morning, knowing that that sense of grounding is probably going to be beneficial to where I am at energetically today. So, with all of that in mind, we're going to start this practice on our backs and we'll make our way up. So, go ahead and lower down to your mat. Bring your knees in toward your chest. Your arms can reach out above your head, or maybe you cactus them out to the sides. And kick your legs up into the air, pointing and flexing your toes. You might find a point in your hamstrings that feels good to explore, and you might kind of pulse toward and away from that. As you're here, begin to draw awareness to your breath, maybe letting it be a little more intentional. From here, we're going to bring our arms out to our sides, bend our knees, and begin to rock knees toward one armpit, away through center, in toward the other. Let the bowl of your pelvis and your shoulders, the back of your head, those three convex curves can become quite heavy. And as you find your knees over to your left side, you can let them lower. So we're in a supine twist now. Turn your left palm face up. We're going to bring the right palm over to land on top of it. You might adjust your positioning if it feels of service to you. Keep your right fingertips on the floor or as close to the floor as you can as you draw a circle up above your head, behind you, up over your hips, and back to your hand. We'll do that again, focusing on keeping those fingertips close to the floor. And after you finish your next cycle, we're going to switch the focus. So back to palm on palm. This time, we're keeping every part of the left side of our bodies heavy on the floor. And we're letting this arm spin a circle close to the mat at times, perhaps, but probably some distance away from the mat at other times, since our body's no longer moving to accommodate that spin. In other words, we're really isolating this into the shoulder. You can allow your circles to become smaller and smaller, kind of spiraling your right arm until it's pointed up toward the ceiling and drawing circles there. And then really soften through the major muscles of your arm and picture your upper arm bone massaging out some of the soft tissue surrounding your shoulder girdle. From here, let's open this right arm out Take another final breath in the supine twist. And then we'll capture those legs back up into the air and find those little half circles. You might notice a difference between your left and right shoulder at this point. Very normal. So here we have those three convex curves, again, heavy on the mat. All these movements are targeting the fascia more than major muscle groups right now as we prepare to get a little more dynamic. And the next time your knees are toward the right, go ahead and lower them down. Find a breath in this supine twist. And then right palm face up, left palm atop of it. Letting your whole body contribute as you draw those circles, staying in contact with the mat as much as possible. And then after this next one, we'll switch the focus again. So right side of body can become quite heavy. Let your left arm draw those circles on its own, noting that it's not going to be as close to the mat for a big majority of the circle. Begin to shrink those circles down all the way until your arm is more or less just up toward the ceiling. And then again, soften through the major muscles. Let your arm bone massage out around that socket. Open up to the left for a final breath. And then draw your legs back up. Let's straighten them out one more time. You can point and flex your toes. Some of your arms can come back overhead, kind of reaching behind you. And we're going to start to rock our hips, creating some momentum, but also massaging out the spine and the muscles along your spine. If it feels okay, you can let this progress all the way until you come up to a seated form, or you can use your hands to support you. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, lower right fingertips, reach over with your left, bend that right elbow. Inhale through center. Exhale, second side. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist to the right. Think of a nice long spine. And as you exhale, you might twist a little bit. Try not to lever yourself into it too much, but rather letting it be gentle. Use an inhale to unwind. And exhale, second side, same thing. Lengthening on the inhale, twisting on the exhale, but being gentle. Inhale through center. On the exhale, bring your hands back behind you. Bring your feet as wide as your mat. We'll begin to windshield wiper knees from side to side. Just waking up these different ranges of motion. One way to add to this, if you would like to increase your movement here, would be that the next time your knees are lowered, to keep whatever side they're lowered to, hand on the mat, and helicopter the other arm around as you lift up onto both of your shin bones. Wow, sorry, I almost said forearms, but wrong limb of the body. Left arm back. Knees can lower, you can lift back up. And you might do that a couple of times if you're enjoying it. Once you're balanced out, come back through center. From here, we're going to press our way up to a yogi squat, nice long spine. Take an inhale as you open, reaching your right arm up, left arm down. Exhale through center, switch the setup. Inhale, left arm up, right hand down. Exhale through center. And then bring your hands to the mat. You can turn your fingers back toward your body if that feels okay for you, to stretch into your wrists a little bit, or you can keep them facing forward and just bring some weight in and out of them. We just want to warm up the wrists a little bit. Really keep your fingers engaged. So that you're not just putting weight into your wrists without support of the tiny little muscles that are in your hands and wrists. Once you feel satisfied with that, you can lift your hips up. We're going to go inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, come back down to the squat. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to lower. This time, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Fingertips on the mat. Step your feet back so that you can come to hands and knees, tabletop form. And from here, you might again stretch into your wrists, maybe doing some circles over with your shoulders over your wrists, one way and then the other. And then we're going to step this right foot back. Take a moment to press into your hands, feel the strength of your abdomen as you swing your right leg out to the side, toes point forward. On the exhale, hands forward, hips back, asymmetrical child's form. Inhale, as you lift up back toward this original position, left hand's gonna come out to the left, right arm's gonna again sweep around until you're in a gate pose, lowered gate, reaching with your right arm. And then use your right arm to draw yourself up. Think of shifting your hips down into the left to level them out. Right hand can press across your body as the left arm comes over for a reach. Inhale back through center, both arms up. On the exhale, arms out to a T, hips back, heart forward. Inhale back up. Exhale, heart forward, hips back. Inhale back up. Last time, exhale, bring it down, pause here. Hands come to the mat. Right leg sweeps back. Lift that leg up, bend through the knee, and we're gonna lower knee, taps toward the mat, and lifts. Lower and lift. Last one, lower, lift, pause here, left hand reaches forward. It might reach all the way back toward that foot, whether it stays reaching or catches it. If you catch your foot, you might kick foot into hand, stretching out through the front side of this right leg. Gently release. Right knee lowers, take a couple rounds of cat-cow, rinse that off. Come back through neutral. This time, left toes step back. Press the mat away, feel the strength of your abdomen. Left foot sweeps out to the side. Plant that foot. Send your hips back, hands forward as you come into an asymmetrical child's form. Pause here for a couple breaths. Gently begin to lift yourself back up toward that tabletop with the leg extended out. Right hand's gonna come out to your right. Swing your left arm up and around. Find the side body stretch. And then from here, left arm brings you up. Hips shove down to the right. And then from here, left arm presses across your body. Right arm finds a reach. Inhale back up through center, arms out to a T. Exhale, we're gonna send those hips back, heart forward. Bring it back up. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Last one, pause here, take a breath. Inhale, lift back up. Hands can come down. Left foot reaches back. From here, we're gonna press into the mat, find your strength, and then bend that knee. Tap it down and lift it up. Tap it down and lift it up. Last one, down and lift. Right arm reaches forward, perhaps reaches back, maybe catches that foot. If you have the catch, kick foot into hand. Try to keep your hips and shoulders level. And gently release. Left leg comes back to the mat. From here, we're gonna come all the way up and back to our first downward facing form of the practice. Shake your head out, take a couple of breaths. We're gonna pick up the pace a little bit. Inhale, right leg high. Exhale, knee toward nose or forehead. Hips stay high. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee toward nose. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee toward nose. Look forward, step that foot forward. Shift into that foot as you inhale. Bring your torso upright, high lunge. From here, we're going to add a little vinyasa if it's of interest to you. If you're feeling like it feels good to be still here, then feel free to do that. Otherwise, exhale, hands to heart center, left knee taps down. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, come up onto your left big toe, arms sweep back, airplane arms, power lunge. Inhale, lift up, warrior three. Exhale, lower your toes down, power lunge. Inhale, back up, high lunge. All right, twice more if you're interested. Exhale, hands lower, knee lowers. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, airplane arm, warrior three. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift it back up. Last one, exhale, hands and knee lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift. Exhale, let's all fold over this front leg. Lower your left knee, take a breath in, look up. On the exhale, straighten both legs any amount, look back. Inhale, bend, look up. Exhale, straighten, look back. Last one, inhale, bend, look up. On the exhale, we're gonna straighten, look back. You might step your left foot forward a bit. Feet on parallel tracks. Find the hinge at your hips. Think of your pelvic girdle rolling over the heads of your femurs. That can be helpful imagery here to take the hinge out of your low back. You can always lift your torso any amount to aid in that. Let your head hang heavy. On an inhale, bend into your right knee. We're going to crawl our hands all the way to the left leg at the back edge of the mat and come right on up, high lunge. All right, on the exhale, hands come toward heart center, hinge forward toward a power lunge, but bring your right leg with you. So knee comes up the back edge of the mat. From here, we're going to switch what we're working on a little. Shift into a bend in your left leg. Right heel reaches toward right sit bone. Arms can come out to a T, thumbs and fists. Keep squeezing heel towards sit bone. Lift that back knee. Hold here in our upward bird, our Upparga Hamsasana. Find a breath. One more. On the exhale, like you're moving through molasses, hands come toward heart center. Right leg steps to the back edge of the mat. Pause here, bring your torso upright. And exhale, let your tailbone sink straight down with your right knee. Set up for a low lunge. It might feel really nice to press against your front leg to allow this right hip flexor to open. Here for just a breath. On an inhale, arms reach high if they're not already. Exhale, frame out your left foot. Kick it up and back, three-legged down dog. Move through a vinyasa of your choosing. If you're looking to add some spice, I recommend taking the extra push-up coming out of your vinyasa. All right, from here, we're gonna lift this right leg high. Exhale, knee toward right elbow, shift forward. Inhale, kick it up. Exhale, knee toward elbow. Inhale, kick it up. Exhale, knee toward elbow, but step that foot to the back edge. Lower your left knee and crawl your hands back, hips over back knee. Might need to move this front heel. Gently meet your half split. Not here for long. Go ahead and shift into a bend in that right leg. Left knee lifts, crawl your hands all the way to the front edge of the mat. From here, we're going to step it back into a plank pose and pause. In your plank, option to stay still or to find shoulder taps. Shoulder taps, we're thinking of maybe widening our feet for a firmer base. Keep your tailbone tucked. Left hand to right shoulder, right hand to left shoulder. We're going back and forth, and we're trying to move our hips as little as possible, which means our hands might come a little bit more beneath our face. Go for 3, 2, 1. Lower those knees. Keep your hips above your knees. Crawl your hands forward. Find a puppy pose. Forehead or chin might reach toward the mat. Really press into your fingertips here, keeping those shoulders engaged. And then on an exhale, really round through your back. Keep pressing through your fingers as your hips rock forward. Shoulders roll down, toes can untuck. Find your way into a back bend. On the exhale, bring it down. Arms come out to a T, palms face down. From here, we're gonna slide left hand in toward us. Press into it as that left leg comes back. And we find a little bit of a scorpion twist. Left hand slides back out, left leg comes back down. Same thing, second side. Come back through neutral. Take a moment here. I'm gonna scoot back on my mat so you can see this a little bit better. Take a moment here to press tops of feet and pelvis into the mat. We're gonna bring our hands, pinkies down, thumbs up, fingers extended toward the corners of the mat. Chin should be somewhat neutral here. As tops of feet and pelvis press in, think of lifting your belly button away from the mat, like there's a strawberry or something that you're trying to avoid squishing. And then use an inhale to lift through your torso and your arms. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Follow your breath here, checking that you're still engaging through the tops of your feet and your pelvis, lifting that belly button away to protect your low back. On your next lift, pause here. We're gonna lower the arms and lift. Lower and lift. Lower and lift. Keeps your arms lifted with your torso, melts everything down together. Give it a wiggle. Bring your forehead down to the mat. Tops of feet and pelvis press in. Belly button lifts away. This time we're just going to lift through the arms. So lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift, pause here, pulse up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down, let everything soften. Slide your hands back and press to a seat at the back edge of your mat. Do some shoulder circles here. It might feel really nice to stay in a seated form. Or if you're feeling like you want to increase the energy further, you can come on up and find your way into a symmetrical back bend, this time Ustrasana or camel form. So hands can be at hips as your shoulders draw back, toes can be tucked or not. Think of your tailbone anchoring straight down as your hips move forward, heart lifts up. Picture the muscles along the length of your spine evenly contracting to support you here. You want to lower onto your heels and then press your hips back forward, you can. We'll gently come back up. And from here, find a downward facing form. Maybe you move through a vinyasa. Maybe you skip it. When you're ready to move again, left leg lifts. Exhale, knee toward nose. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, extend. Last time, knee toward nose, go all the way forward, step that foot down, shift into it, lift your torso up, high lunge. Alanasana. Option to stay still or to move through that mini vinyasa. Exhale, hands to heart center, right knee lowers. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, airplane arm warrior three. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift. Twice more if you're with me. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, forward. Inhale, warrior three. Exhale, forward, power lunge. Inhale, lift. Last one. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift. Exhale, power lunge. Inhale, lift. And exhale, hinge it over this front leg. Plant your hands, lower your right knee, breath in, look up. Exhale, straighten your legs any amount to look back. Twice more with your breath. Last one. We're gonna hold here. Feel free to step your right foot forward a bit. Legs are on parallel tracks. Try to straighten out through your hips, level out through your hips, I should say. That can mean adjusting your stance a little bit or bringing your torso upright, propping up onto that front leg. You just try to protect the pelvic girdle and not doing things cattywampus. Your head might hang heavy here. On an inhale, soften into your left knee. Crawl your hands all the way to your back foot. From here, inhale, up high lunge. Exhale, bring your hands in. Left knee comes to up with you as you come to stand. Arms are going to come out to a T, thumbs and fists. Left leg bends, soften into your right knee. Think left heel towards sit bone. That knee keeps lifting. It's really the muscles of your glute that are supporting you here. One more breath. On the exhale, hands come towards heart center. Left foot steps back like it's moving through molasses to lower those toes. And then your tailbone lowers straight down with your left knee. Find your Anjaneyasana. Perhaps you press your hands into this front leg, really letting your left hip flexor, your psoas, open up from all of the contraction they just did. Using inhale to bring arms up. And exhale, hinge it forward. Plant your hands, right leg kicks up and back, three-legged down dog. Move through your vinyasa. Maybe taking that extra push-up if you're looking for a little more warmth. Meeting in a downward form. From here, left leg reaches high. Exhale, knee toward left elbow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, lift. Exhale, we're gonna step that foot through. Crawl your hands back. Setting up for the half split. Knowing we want hips over left knee, so you might need to scoot that right knee. Might need to scoot that left heel forward a bit. Take a couple of breaths here. You can always pulse in and out of it if that feels better in your body. On an inhale, soften into your left leg. Curl your right toes under and crawl all the way to the front edge of the mat. This time, we're going to step the left foot forward. Everything else we did was symmetrical. We're going to rise all the way up. Feet beneath hips. Hands come to hips, or they can stay at heart center if you'd rather. Shoulders draw back, tailbone anchors down. Lift through your pelvic floor and begin to move hips forward, heart up. Same thing we did in the camel pose in standing. Your hands are on your hips, they might crawl down the backs of your legs any amount. Use an inhale to lift up. Exhale, roll over the front sides of your legs, any amount. Shake your head out, wiggle your hips. Might bend and straighten into your legs. Might move your torso toward and away from your legs. Really want everything to just loosen up. On an inhale, halfway lift along spine. Exhale, release, hands toward the mat. Step the left foot back. From here, we're gonna crawl our hands toward the long edge of the mat. Both sets of toes angle out. Bend halfway into your right knee, and then into your left. Back and forth a couple of times. And the next time you're about halfway into your right, bring your torso upright. Anchor your tailbone down. We kind of like to booty pop here. We're less strong when we do that. Right knee is pointed toward the front edge of the mat. Arms out to the sides, thumbs and fists. Bend your right elbow. Look toward your left fist at the back edge of your mat. If you'd like, you can come up to balance on your left heel. Draw your shoulders down. Soften through your jaw. On an inhale, we're going to come back up. And exhale, we'll bend as deeply as you can into that left leg. That might mean hips stay half lifted. It might mean you lower those hips down. The key thing is that if your left knee knocks inward, then you should probably lift your hip a little bit. Hands can be on the mat. You can find a little bit of a twist here. Sometimes it feels really good to curl with hands wide and let your head hang heavy. On an inhale, press yourself back up. Turn both sets of toes toward the long edge. Inhale for a long spine. And as you exhale, find your first wide-legged forward fold of the practice. Now, I mentioned at the start that we're doing a funky transition from here. We're not going to do it yet, but this is warming us up for it. So one thing that you can do to prepare is interlace your fingers behind your back. Reach those knuckles away from you, even while your shoulder blades draw together. And then let your arms grow heavy. Shake out your head. Gently draw your knuckles down toward your low back. Release your hands. Inhale, long spine, look forward. On the exhale, crawl toward the back edge of the mat. Plant your hands. Step back into a plank. Roll toward, let's see, open up toward the long edge of the mat you were just facing. So outer edge of your left foot on the mat. Your feet can be stacked or staggered. You might hold still here, or you might lower and lift your hips. And maybe once more. Bend into this right leg. We're going to step it toward the back edge. Nice. Wherever it lands, just press into it. Bring both hands inside of it. Heel toe it to the side. Lower your hips. Take a moment in this lizard form. We're not here long. Lift your left knee. We'll crawl all the way back to the front edge of the mat. And from here, we're going to come up to standing in a high lunge. Exhale, hands to heart center. Bring your right knee with you. And then lower it directly in front of your left. So you are walking a tightrope. All right, this adduction pose, meaning toward midline, is going to get into our hips a little bit. Keep a micro bend in your knees. Picture your pelvis rolling over the heads of your femurs. Hands can stay at hips. Crawl down your legs. They can find the mat. Like me, you have a wall in front of you. You can use that for support. Pause here for a breath. Gently unwind. Step your feet out side to side. Give them a wiggle. Okay, we're back to where we started. So second side here. Inhale, arms up. Exhale. And fold it all the way down. Missing that back bend this time. We'll get one later. Pause here. Step your right foot back. Crawl your hands halfway to the right till you're facing the long edge and bend halfway into your left leg and then your right. And find the side to side movement for a couple breaths. And the next time you're bent halfway into your left, hold there, bring your torso upright. Tailbone anchors down, arms out to the sides, thumbs and fists. Bend your left elbow, look over toward your right. This, maybe you balance on your right heel. If you hyperextend like I tend to, I have to kind of consciously bring my leg out of that hyperextension here. Feel the strength of your archer form. On an inhale, arms up. And exhale, we'll go as deeply into this right leg as feels okay. Maybe pausing halfway up, maybe lowering down. Again, this is a place to watch for hyperextension. You can find this twist. Maybe crawl hands wide, inching heart forward. As you're ready, press into the mat. Bring yourself back up. Both sets of toes point forward. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, find your hinge. Inhale, long spine. Heel toe your feet wider than you normally would here. And exhale, find your hinge. This time your top of your head might come to the mat. That is perfect. We want basically just enough space for the crown of the head to touch the mat, but for it to not feel like you're compressing through your spine, if that makes sense. All right, so we're just gonna use the head as like this tiny balance point. We're trying not to put weight into it. Interlace fingers, non-dominant grip behind you. Draw your shoulders down, and then let your knuckles grow heavy toward the floor. Keep that weight in your feet. Knuckles to low back, release your hands to the mat. Inhale, long spine, look forward. Exhale, crawl to the back edge. From here, step it back. Right hand beneath your face, roll to your outer right foot. Inhale, left arm up. Find your side plank. Exhale to lower your hips maybe, or to stay still. Potentially once more. Bend your left leg, step it toward your right hand. Both hands inside of that foot. Let your hips grow heavy. Meet this lizard form for just a moment. You can gently lift up, crawl all the way back to the front edge of your mat. Inhale up, high lunge. Exhale, hands to heart center, left knee comes with you. Step your left toes directly in front of your right. Micro bend into your knees. And from here, find the forward fold. A gentle hinge. On an inhale, gently lift up. Step your feet next to each other, wiggle it out. And from here, feet beneath hips, hands can reach forward like you're sliding your back down the wall. Begin to lower. At some point, you're probably going to have to hinge forward a little bit. Come down to a seat. All right, so the transition that we've been working toward requires quite a bit of shoulder opening, which we've been doing a lot of. And it ends in a shoulder stand. So we're going to greet that form first, just to remember what it's like in our bodies. You can lower down onto your spine. Hands might be at your sides. Draw your knees in. And just like we did at the start of class, we're kind of lifting our hips and finding a gentle rock along the spine. And if as you do that, you're like, yeah, I could pause here. Then pause. You can interlace your fingers on the mat, pressing your triceps in. And then from here, I always have to kind of like wiggle my shoulders underneath me for more support. From here, you might lift up into a shoulder stand, straightening as much as possible from your shoulders all the way up to your toes. That can be a little bit intense. One thing I like to do is to bring my hands to my back, and then I can press into my hands a little bit to find that line. The back of your head presses gently into the mat to keep your cervical spine, your neck, long. And then you can always bend your knees or draw your knees toward your forehead or your feet back toward a plow. But generally, ease your way out of it and up to a seat. Take a moment seated to maybe twist out your spine, lower one ear to one shoulder, then the other. Being careful not to crank it, just letting these be kind of gentle movements. All right. So, if you would like to do the prep for this, but not necessarily saying that you're going to do the whole thing, we're going to come to a wide-legged stance. I have an extra wide mat, so my feet are still on it, but in all likelihood, your feet are well off of your mat. Unless you're set up in a room where you have carpet or something that you can roll to. What we're going to do here is come back down to that really wide-legged forward fold. That one where our forehead, or the crown of our head, actually my feet are even coming off my mat, where the crown of our heads touches the mat. That's the setup for this. So as you come down, the top of your head just barely touches the mat. You can interlace your fingers at your low back and think of the backs of your arms and the sides of your hands, again, being the foundation for a shoulder stand. That's kind of where we're headed here. We're going to somersault into it. Okay, and so if you're like, ooh, that sounds sketchy on my neck, don't do it. Don't force yourself into this. If you have blankets or anything that you feel like would be supportive to add, just add them on the other side, the back side of your head, because we're going to tuck our heads and land with our shoulders right at the base of our spine, or at the base of our necks, not the base of our spine. The base of our necks, that knobby protrusion is going to be like the first thing to touch the mat. So I'm going to grab a blanket to just demo that. I'm not going to have it very folded because there's not going to be a heck of a lot of space. All right. So I don't want to have to like roll myself up onto something. Okay. So crown of my head's just before it. Hands are behind. And I know that I'm going to use my triceps to catch me. And so as I tuck my chin, roll onto the blanket, and my legs come up, and I'm in my shoulder stand, release my arms out to the side, and roll to the front of the mat. Okay, so I will say that actually having a little bit of a blanket here, it gives your shoulders some space. You need a little less neck mobility to find a shoulder stand. So if you are not interested in doing this transition, one thing you might instead do is have a folded blanket of some sort. Let your head rest just off of it. And you can find your shoulder stand here and maybe play with this. Maybe you work on lowering one or both legs behind you, finding a plow form, anything along those lines. But I'll walk us through it once more in case you want to try it. There's a little bit of a leap of faith here. The key thing is to keep your chin tucked in toward your chest so that you don't land on your head, okay? So, interlace your fingers, let your arms grow heavy toward the mat, tuck your chin up, a little bit of a trust fall, and then you can find your way in. Arms move apart, lower your hips, and come to a seat. All right, let's go ahead and do some counter movements from that as we prepare to wind down class. We're going to come back up to standing. Feet are going to be wide. Take a moment to hula hoop or figure eight your hips, and then go the other way. And then from here, I like to kind of shimmy as I do it. Shimmy your way down, keeping everything loose. Oftentimes when we do a new form or transition, we overgrip. And that's fine. It's our body's way of feeling safe. However, if we overgrip and then we just call it a day, it might not be particularly nourishing. So you might find some wiggle side to side. Sometimes here I find it really nice to catch opposite elbows
and kind of pulse my torso. Truly release all tension from your mouth, your neck, all those muscles that weave in together, letting there be spaciousness here and sway. Inhale, long spine. Plant your left hand beneath your nose. Bring this right arm up for a twist. Glance toward those fingers and gently go the other direction, glancing toward these left fingers. Gently release. Lower yourself down to a seat. I'm going to turn to face you for this. My bum looks really nice after that transition. All right, and from here, what we're going to do is bring our arms up and then exhale, lower your left fingertips, reach over with your right, but look toward your right armpit slash arm with your face. Come up through center, look toward center. Left hand still reaching down, you might turn palm face forward. Let your right ear just soften toward the right shoulder. Kind of check that your chin isn't forward or back in space, it's neutral. And then your right hand can lower to just be extra weight. Gently release up on an inhale. Lower your right hand, reach up and over with your left. Glance toward that left arm with your face, your eyes. Inhale up through center. And then from here, right palm might face forward. We're lowering left ear toward left shoulder. Left arm grows heavy. Gently release. Bring both hands down onto your legs. Take a moment to look over either shoulder. Maybe letting there be some momentum and softness, not necessarily going to your full range, but shaking your head out side to side. And as you're ready to close class, you might decide if it would feel nice to roll to your back and to find any movement there, or to stay seated. Depending on the time of day, one might feel better than the other to you. One thing that we can all do, no matter where we are, is find external rotation. So if you're seated, that might look like Dvipada Kapotasana, our double pigeon, also known as fire log, where you stack ankle over knee over ankle, hinge forward, or right ankle to left knee, find a seated pigeon with a really tall, proud chest till you feel sensation. If you're on your back, you can find the same form just lying on your back with your knees bent in the air. And gently release out of whichever variation you took. If you tried a couple different things, then you might greet a couple different things. Just go to the other side. Once you're ready, release out. If you're seated, find a comfortable seat. If you're lying down, find a comfortable form on your spine. Take these next couple of breaths to release, hold over your breath. Let it be what it is. Let any part of you in contact with the mat soften. Sometimes it helps me to scan through the back side of my body and then the front side to release any holding. You might choose to stay here longer, pausing this video, or just ignoring the end of it. But if you'd like to transition out of this space, this moment, begin by finding a little deeper breath. Might introduce little wiggles or movements, bringing warmth and energy back into your body. On a deep inhale, you might even reach your arms up overhead if you're seated, or come up to a seat if you're lying down. And exhale, can bring hands toward heart center. Thank you for sharing this playful practice with me. Might you carry any awareness that arose during this practice out into all that you do. Namaste. As always, friends, it makes such a difference if you leave a comment with any requests or anything you'd like to see in the future. If you like this practice, feel free to give it the thumbs up on YouTube or share it with a friend or anything like that. Thank you so much for joining.